Once Joseph found the plates and he retrieved them, according to him, he was attacked a couple times. The Hill Cumorah is a hill. It is steep. Oh, my camera's getting wet. I really hope I'm not gonna regret this. Hello, Saints. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jeff, and I am a Christian pastor exploring everything I can about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Well, I'm going to visit my wife's family, who happens to live in upstate New York, not far from Palmyra. And if you're not an LDS church member, Palmyra, New York is really the birthplace of the LDS church. It's really cold outside, but I'm gonna go up there, I'm gonna take you with me, I'm gonna give you my reaction, I'm gonna give you my perspective. Let's go. I mean, summers around here are beautiful. They're never too hot, they're always very comfortable. So you might be wondering, why in the world am I doing this video this time of year, right now, when it's the middle of winter where there's snow everywhere? Well, this is why. I mean, come on, this is a winter wonderland. All right, just rolled up into Palmyra, New York. Very unassuming. It seems like just small town America. I'm only about a mile away from the Sacred Grove. I'll explain what that is in just a minute, but let's keep going. All right, so if I'm really on a quest to explore all things LDS, there's really no better place for me to start than where Joseph Smith founded the church. And I'm gonna spend this entire day just retracing his steps. And that starts here in the Sacred Grove. Let's explore, then we'll talk about it. So this is pretty cool because when I heard Sacred Grove, I was thinking that it would be like an area with like fields and trees and things of that nature, but it's more of a forest. And from what I'm reading here, this is actually where the Smith family established their farm, where they lived. They cut down trees, they farmed here, they built log cabins, and it's somewhere back in these woods on these mysterious trails that something significant happened. So I'm gonna keep walking the trails and see what's up. All right, so what have I discovered? What have I explored out here in the Sacred Grove? Well, there's a lot of trees and there's a lot of benches. There's benches everywhere along these paths. It's almost like there's an invitation for LDS church members who come out here to sit and to reflect on this site and on this area. And that kind of makes sense because, like I said, this is where the LDS church story begins. When Joseph Smith was about 14 years old, I'm learning he was out here and he was contemplating church and spirituality, and he was feeling torn as to which church denomination he should commit to. And it was out here that he said that he received a visitation from God and Jesus, who told him not to join any of the churches. They weren't representative of the true church, but that they were going to reveal to him the truth about the one true church. But you can definitely get the sense out here that there is an invitation to sort of take in the sacredness that LDS church members believe this place holds. So after Joseph received this vision, he came home to a cabin much like this one, and he told his family. And they didn't believe him. They persecuted him, they kind of chastised him, and that was that for a few years. And then one night, about 3 years later in 1823, Joseph claims to be praying at night, and he was visited by an angel 3 times who called himself Moroni, and told him that God was going to reveal to him on gold plates buried in a stone case not too far from here. He was going to reveal to him sort of new revelation about visitations Jesus had to the Americas and all of the information that Joseph would need to establish the true church. He did that 3 times that night, and that happened a few days later as well, until Joseph finally went on this exploration mission to find these gold plates, which is where we're going to head next. So as the story goes in the Book of Mormon, Moroni, the messenger who appeared to Joseph Smith, wasn't just an angel. According to the Book of Mormon, he was actually an ancient prophet and warrior, and his father was named Mormon. And the revelation that he received and passed on to his son, that he then inscribed on the gold plates, were deposited on the Hill Cumorah. And this sort of highlights a teaching that is unique, that is different from the rest of Christianity. You're not going to find taught in the rest of Christianity or in the Bible the idea of a man becoming an angel. So that's something that's pretty unique and pretty different. The Hill Cumorah is a hill. It is steep, but it's doable. I can do this. All right, it's not raining, but there is definitely melted snow dripping off all the trees. Oh, my camera's getting wet. I really hope I'm not gonna regret this. Okay, finally made it to the top of Hill Cumorah, and here's the monument that commemorates the spot where Joseph claims to have found the gold plates. He actually said that he found them soon after he received the message from Moroni, but Moroni wouldn't let him pick them up. And for 4 years, he would come back on the same day every year to try to pick them up, and he couldn't. The time wasn't right, according to Moroni. But then finally in 1827, he was able to get the plates and the tools that were needed to translate the Book of Mormon. And that leads us to the next place we're going to go see, which is actually where Joseph said he translated the Book of Mormon. Let's check it out. So as I continue to follow in Joseph Smith's footsteps here in Palmyra, I find myself in the middle of a field. Let me explain. From what I'm learning, once Joseph found the plates and he retrieved them, he was actually, according to him, he was attacked a couple times by men who were trying to get the gold plates. And once he got them home, he had to hide them in a chest, and people would surround his house every night. And it got so bad that they had to actually relocate to Pennsylvania with the help of a wealthy landowner in Palmyra named Martin Harris. And that's where I am right now, the Martin Harris farm. Eventually, Joseph moved back to Palmyra, and in a house that's no longer standing on this property, on this farm, he, with the help of Martin Harris, translated the Book of Mormon. And though Harris acted as his scribe for a time, he eventually lost a few pages, about 116 to be exact. That upset Joseph, and a local school teacher named Oliver Caldry became his full-time scribe, where they finished the Book of Mormon in a couple of years. The residence is no longer here, so it's mainly just a farm field. But there is a big parking lot and plenty of signage, which indicates that this is still considered a pretty revered spot for members of the LDS Church. So as I finish tracing Joseph Smith's steps, I end up here in downtown Palmyra, where once he finished translating the Book of Mormon, Martin Harris actually mortgaged part of his farm so that he could pay to have the Book of Mormon printed. So he brought him here to this print shop in downtown Palmyra, and the owner agreed to print 5,000 copies for $3,000, and in 7 months they were finished. They began to distribute the Book of Mormon, and not too long after that, in Fayette, New York, they elected officials, they organized the church, and that is the history, that is the heritage, that is the inception and the genesis of the LDS Church. All right, so as I wrap up my time here in Palmyra, what are my main takeaways as a Christian pastor learning about all things LDS? Well, actually, my main takeaway is represented by this intersection here in Palmyra. Supposedly, this intersection is the only intersection in America that has a church on all four corners. And that's really symbolic of what I learned today about Joseph Smith, who was struggling with, at a crossroad, which Christian denomination to choose. And that's really similar with one of the main questions I get as a pastor. Why are there so many different Christian denominations? There's a lot of different ways that I can answer that question, but the short answer is that there's still differences in opinion on different worship practices, how things should be taught, different expressions of the church. But we all generally agree on certain fundamental truths. For example, that there's one God, and that Jesus, in a Trinitarian form, is God. And when Jesus came to earth, it was God made flesh. Now that's something that's really unique from what I learned today about what Joseph Smith experienced. And I hope that as I say this, you trust that I'm not trying to stir up a spirit of contention, but maybe for LDS church members helping you understand why a lot of the other Christian denominations have a difficult time saying that the LDS church is a valid Christian denomination. Because Joseph said in the Sacred Grove that when Heavenly Father came to him with Jesus, that they were two separate persons, they were two separate people. And that Jesus isn't necessarily God, that they are different persons. And that's vastly different from what the Bible teaches. In fact, the Bible teaches in John chapter 1 that in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. And we know that the Word that John is referring to is Jesus, because a few verses later it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. So when Joseph Smith is receiving a revelation, a separate revelation, that actually doesn't talk about Jesus as being God, the rest of Christianity is going to have a very difficult time saying that that is a valid revelation because it disagrees with the Bible. That's not only a big takeaway for me, but I'm also hoping that for LDS church members that sheds a little bit of light on why there's some pretty significant differences, even though we use a lot of the same language and refer to the same things as it pertains to Jesus and God. But there's a lot there that we could continue to talk about, which we will, which is why you need to like and subscribe, because I want to talk some more. So leave some comments. What questions do you have? What are your thoughts? Let me know and come back because we have more to talk about. So until then, I'll see you later, saints.